Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. If you like the photo you just seen, stick around because we're going to learn how to sew our lips shut. Things our parents wished they could have done to us years ago. Hey everybody, so in today's look, what we are going to need to start with, these aren't all the supplies you'll need, is liquid latex and or liquid glue. I personally love Elmer's liquid glue. It has such a strong adhesive. Not so strong that it'll rip your skin off, no, because it's safe for kids. But get the toxic-free, safe stuff for kids. It's the best to go on the face, especially if you're like myself and you have very sensitive skin, like the skin of a 5-year-old. Yeah, so if you have baby precious skin, get that one. Maron too. I find the creature latex is more for arms and legs and making masks, and it's very intense. But the Maron is really good for the face as well as Ben Nye. Again, both products are top notch in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. So, toilet paper, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna start by measuring our lips. And no, not like I did with the present. What we're going to do is just get toilet paper as long as our lips. If I can rip a piece, shall we? Let's see. So, like so, right? And then we'll just rip down the sides because you want it to just go over your lips a little bit. So, we're going to do this, and again, we're going to do 5 coats. Why 5? Because once the adhesive dries, you're going to feel that layer and you're going to know where to oh my goodness, where to bring your string to sew your lips shut. So let's get started. Actually, before I start, if you're using liquid glue, you can keep your lips out like so. Like not ooh, but like out, because you won't have to worry so much. With liquid latex of any kind, it is very strong, so don't do that. You're going to want to tuck in your lips like this. So you're going to want intense, what I call granny lips, when you put on your first layer of liquid latex. So when you're putting on liquid latex, you're going to want to do this. And apply your piece over. And then right away, right after that, go with your hairdryer. So if you're using liquid, oh my goodness, of course. If you're using Elmer's glue, you're going to just want to relax your lips like so. And apply your toilet paper like that. Because you don't have to worry about it eating through your lips as much as you do with liquid latex. The reason being, it's the ammonia and all the chemicals that go into said liquid latex to keep it, well, liquid. So those things and components of the liquid latex will eat through your skin. How do I know? Personal experience. And yes, I was that stupid. Let's continue. Okay, so what you want to do is apply your first layer of liquid latex, and you're going to want to go a little bit over your lips because you're going to want to create what I call a peel. So while you're adding your toilet paper, you want to get into that nook of said granny lips, because while you're applying your peel, what I call peel is it's just an area of where you're going to want to rip your lips off after you're done. And while you're applying, don't worry that you're going a little bit over your lips because we're going to do that and cover it up in makeup. So let's add some more liquid latex to our lips, like so. And like the glue and like the liquid latex, don't be afraid to add lots because you're really going to want to add that thick layer to add stability to your fake lips. Again, when applying, don't be afraid to press in a little bit too, because if you're using liquid latex, it does dry rather fast. And so don't be afraid to really get in there and be comfortable using your latex. And if you are using Elmer's glue, when adding that much glue over every layer of toilet paper, be very careful it doesn't tear. The first 2 layers will tear because it is rather thin, and glue in liquid form such as that is very, very easy to make toilet paper rip. So don't worry about your first 2 layers, but be safe afterwards because you don't want to destroy your lips prior. When using liquid glue, I would stop in between and just blow dry as you go. Whereas with liquid latex, you can go all in one go because it does dry rather fast, like I've said. Okay, so now that your adhesive is nice and dry and secure, make sure that all the edges are nice and dry. Do not worry, make sure that the center is nice and dry too. So what you're going to need next is a skewer, because you're going to need the pointy end to create holes. And don't use a needle, okay? I did that once and I broke my lips a little bit. So you're going to want to start creating holes from the bottom. And don't be afraid to go through the entire layer of your lips. If you're having trouble, use a stitch ripper. That's what I'm using right now to create a hole. But I'm sure there are safer ways. Don't go with the sharpest thing, but that's what I have. And your first hole should look like this, because you're going to want to create a gap to guide your strings through all of the holes on your face. You should have 4 or 3 going across your lips like so. Decent sized ones to guide your string right through your lips. 3 types of string I would recommend. Number 1 being twine. Hands down 2. And 3, thread at the very least. But twine is usually your best bet because it's sturdy and it'll go through those holes real easy. And it's safe. So, now we're going to just use our skewer and wrap around with our string. And what you want to do is, if you're using string, you want to use it to guide through your holes like that, so that it'll come through easier. That's what I've done. So don't be an idiot like me and thread a needle, because you will end up hurting yourself unless you are completely experienced. I suggest you don't do that because it is really stupid. Even though it looks good, it's really dangerous even with these holes. So safely and carefully take your time if you have to thread a needle and go through it at this way. I don't recommend this by a long shot. I'm only using this out of desperation because I have no twine. So I'm threading a needle, but it's still very dangerous. Don't do this. See, you could easily hurt yourself and end up in the ER. Do you want that? No. No, you don't. It's dangerous and kind of dumb. It's really dumb and stupid. So now that your lips are all sewn together, like so, I've added extra adhesive to the bottom to make sure that it's secure, because if you're anything like me, you rip too hard. So you want to make sure that it's really stuck on. And don't worry about the bumpiness on the bottom or around. Let's start with setting powder to get rid of all the glossiness around your lips. You're also going to need foundation and a bruise wheel. I'm using the Ben Nye bruise wheel, but any bruise wheel will work. I'm also using Maron's Blood, well, their clotted blood product, and it was upside down. There we go. And you're also going to need a textured sponge for scratch marks. And now a sponge to blend it all together, and a setting brush. So start with the setting brush, and you're going to want to powder up, again, all the glossy areas of where your entire latex went, because you don't want any of that showing through. You want it to look as natural as possible. So we'll just start by setting that. Don't worry about getting over your stitches, because it's going to get all full of all kinds of makeup anyway, and it'll still show through. So don't worry, and just be confident. Okay, so now we're going to add our foundation. I'm using the 205 from CoverGirl. It's my summer shade, but I'm going to use that for my lips. And don't be afraid to use quite a bit of it, because it is toilet paper. So you can dab over your stitches, don't worry about it. So let's just go around the edges to start, to make sure that we get those edges, because the blending of those matters the most, because those are technically the outer side of your lips now. And let's get the entire surface, and dab generously. Don't be afraid to use your concealer. Sorry, foundation. And don't be afraid to add some pressure when blending, because using latex, it will stay. So don't worry, and don't be afraid to get in there and really blend your colors. Okay, so now that your foundation is blended, you'll see these little curdles, what I call, of latex all around your lips. Don't worry about that so much and how well they stick out. that is what we'll be using our texture brush for, to just make little scratches and all kinds of different sore areas around your stitches. So now let's focus on adding red to where your stitches are. The two colors we're going to be starting with on our bend nigh bruise wheel to create the look of blood and dried blood are classic brown and red on our bruise wheel. Let's start with red, and don't be afraid to add a generous amount on your finger and just press lightly around your lips right now and where the stitches are, because they are going to be red. If you had real stitches, it's not going to just be, okay, your skin. So add more red. Here we go. And just dab it very generously like that. There you go. Because you want it to look sore, and even if you get it on the outside, don't worry about it, because you're going to be sore everywhere. You want it to look as real as possible. I'm all about the realism of makeup when it comes to horror makeup. So again, just get really in there and don't be afraid. How to get in those creases when you are trying to make sure you're fully colored. Take a colored finger and kind of rotate your finger like so in the spots of where your stitches are. So like so. We just want to roll our finger lightly to add depth and add, well, where most of the blood comes out, right? There you are. Again, we're going to go in with a third coat, and we're just going to rinse and repeat and just keep doing that to fill in those gaps of where the stitches are on our lips. Now my favorite part is adding the brown color on our bruise wheel, like so, to showcase our dried blood. So let's lather up our finger and add a generous amount yet again. And what we're going to want to do with this is just pat around the lips. Not really worrying too much about too much of where everything is, because it's not the red. But we just want to add the idea of dried blood everywhere. So something like that. And you're going to want to repeat this a couple of times because you just want to give the illusion of realism and real dried blood everywhere, right? So for a final blend, I like to take my sponge and just do a roll pat, like a roll pat blend, like that, on the spots of red and brown, just to really blend it into my skin to make it look like it is actually dried there and to make it look real, because I'm all about that realism. Okay, so now that we are all blended in, it is time to play that game, Guess the Palette! Yep, you guessed it right, Jawbreaker, as per every horror look I've ever used. And the two colors we're going to be using today are licorice and raspberry. Because blended together, they look the closest to real blood in powder form. So we're going to start by taking raspberry and just put a generous amount on your finger like that. And we're going to be going underneath. Oh, there we go. Sorry. Oops. Underneath the lips. Not where the stitches are, but underneath the lips. Just to add a sense of where your lips are and where the stitches have sealed your lips shut. Like so. And don't be afraid to really get in there with the raspberry color. So let's add another layer. Again, don't be afraid to add lots and just pat it thickly around your lips like that, because you want to show where your lips are and like so. And don't be afraid to blend it elsewhere either, because it's going to create a really realism look with the blood too. Okay, so now we're going to go back with some brown colors, and we're just going to use, of course, a generous amount. We just want to go under and around the lips too to show where the blood has dried around our stitches. Okay, so now we're going to outline our stitches with Conspiracy, and we are going to be using the color My Rides here, the dark black, because I would suggest using face paint for this, but I don't have face paint, and if you don't, use a black eyeshadow and just go over your stitches with it. You're going to want to pat it on and just go over the stitch marks on your lip to show where, well, your lips were stitched. Okay, there we go. So now that our lips look real sore, let's use our fake blood. And we're going to need to give that a little shake because cornstarch and the chocolate like to sit and sink. It's gross. And we're going to grab our Miron blood. Oh, there we go. Upside down again. And we're going to add that first to the stitches. Grab your detailed brush. And we're just going to grab a generous amount on the brush. And don't be afraid. What you're going to want to do only is just pat on your stitches. You're not going to want to smear it around. You're just going to want to pat it around because this is going to give the look of clotted blood. So you don't want to drag. So you just want to give it a little tap on the stitches to show where the blood is drying and, well, where it's easy seeped out. Oh my goodness, excuse my tongue. And I have a stitch up here, so I'm just going to add some up there because that's where I ended my stitches. So it can be different for everyone, but that's the look we really want to get right there, is that it looks sore, and that's where your lips are. So we're really going to want to show where the soreness of like your skin is from where these stitches are, because these are some deep stitches and we're going to want to add some bruising to make it look real and very painful. So here we go. So we're going to grab our Ben Nye bruise wheel. And the two colors we're going to be using, I'm focusing on, are the blue and the purple. Because a real bruise is very purple. And the blue is to add depth to that bruise and to make it look really, really sore. Not so much to make it look blue, because blue makes it look old. But the purple definitely is what a new bruise looks like. So we're going to be adding that to the bottom of our lip. Not right on the lip, but right underneath where the chin is, because we've broken some vessels. And with this, you're going to need to add layers of your Ben Nye for this, because usually it'll smear on, but we want to pat it on because a bruise doesn't go on so smooth. We're just going to go to the top lip now. Don't be worried about it looking so light, because we're going to add other things to make it darker and make it look more real. So now we're going to add our navy blue color, just to add some darkness around where our bruises bruises are. And again, don't worry so much about the top lip because we will be adding other makeups to make it look a little bit darker and a lot more realistic. Okay, so now we are going to go right back into Jawbreaker. Woohoo! And we are going to be grabbing Delicious, the darkest purple in the palette, to add a sense of realism to our bruise. So there we are. Just going to give it a light pat and blend it in a little bit with our ring finger. And now we're going to go into our Mini Breaker palette and use the brown color. And that's going to add a sense of depth to our bruises. So let's just add a little bit on top to make it look darker and very much in pain and brand new, right? And that's what we want to do. See, now from afar it looks real. And we're going to just do that to the bottom as well. So now it looks real, like a very sore, like it was sewn together with gauze. We're going to use our blue from our bruise wheel, generous amount, and we're just going to go underneath where we had the brown before to add depth and soreness. Well, pain and agitation. And we're going to go back into our Jawbreaker, and we're going to be using the color Delicious again, because bruises, you know, like I've said before, dark purple, and of course a generous amount. We're just going to give a light dab. There we go. Okay, so now that we've fixed up our lips to make them look real and sore, we're going to grab our texture brush and our fake blood and just gently pour it into our sponge. Give it a little rub around. Oops, don't do that. Give it a little rub around so that it soaks in. There you are. We're just going to add some scratches around our stitches. Okay, so while we're adding all the layers of textured scratches and fake blood, don't worry so much about it looking, you know, like a WWE wrestling character, because what we're going to do is keep adding to the soreness. The reason we're doing this is because once you wash it off, it's going to look really sore, and we want our skin to look real. So don't worry about it. We'll wash it off. Now that our skin is washed off, this is the final look. Now that we have sore textured skin and real lips. Hey, this enjoyed today's video. Leave a like. I am so feeling it. And hey, comment down below. What else do you want to see? See you in the next video. Bye. Oh, that's sad. satisfying.